Welcome everybody back to Nine's Corner. I don't know what the news has been like at your neck of the woods, but on our news, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, came out and said, thank you to everybody who's out there doing their job during this difficult time and keeping, people going. But we need for everybody to hanker down. We need everybody to stop and to do your duty as a Canadian citizen, to stay home, to ensure the safety of all. And then I'm watching the US news in which Donald Trump is coming out saying, hey, in a very short time, sooner rather than later, maybe by Easter or maybe even before, we can try to reopen because, the poor people on the stock exchange, they're depressed. And he's afraid that suicides are going to go up and it's going to be so much worse than if they just went out and screw the virus because look how many people die from the flu. Look how many people die in car accidents. But he doesn't mention the fact that they all don't happen in one day. You don't have everybody get the flu on the one day and then panic the hospital because they don't have enough equipment to take care of everybody. And then you're getting the nurses and the doctors sick. And then what about all the people who have cancer and heart attacks and broken bones and normal life things? I am shocked that they would get out there on Fox News, and I don't know the gentleman's name, I don't wish to know it. He was like, oh, it's our right, it's our duty as an American, as an elderly American, to take our chances for the economy. When like almost 40% of those who get infected and get really ill are between the ages of 30 and 50. So that doesn't even make sense. It's like there's such a greed, such like just a shocking greed of people to be so worried about the economy. I understand if you can't work, you can't eat. But if you're not alive, you ain't eating or working. And it's all right for Trump to say as he wants because he's so inactive. He breaks my heart. He literally breaks my heart because we're over here. America's like the big brother. We're all part of the same family, but they're like the big brother. They've been around for a little bit longer, know a little bit more. And now it's like, I am not understanding. How can we have two extremes? So I found this quote, which I thought was so appropriate, and I would like to read it to you. It says, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. And that could be said and true for each and every one of us, no matter where we're from. If we don't pick up and value every life, no matter what your age, your race, your religion, your color, your anything, if we don't realize that and put the effort into the care while we're healthy, I guarantee you this pandemic, this virus, will force you to take the time out to be ill. If you're not the one that's ill, how if you are killing off somebody's mother or father because you wouldn't be self-contained in your home? It's not just one or two or the giving of one group for the betterment of all. This affects every single individual. And how we are so far apart morally to not value each and every life is just mind-blowing to me. We have the power, each one of us individually have the power to have our voices heard. Speak up. Speak up to your local people because obviously the head government's not doing what needs to be done. So the only stopgap is people like, Cuomo in New York, the mayors and all the people that are on the front lines in each individual community. We need to do our part and we need to support each other. And I am going to be lighting not just this candle for each and every one of us, and it is lit, even though it's very lightly lit because I don't know why the candle has just been off and on. It's a brand new candle. It's almost like you can feel the vibration of what's been going on. So I thought this reading, we're going to have a little look around to a few of the countries. I can't hit, obviously, 160 of them, or we'd be here for the next couple of days. But I thought we'd hit a few of them just to get an overall feeling of what's happening. So I'm going to start with Canada and see what is going to be for the health, for wealth, and the outcome. I'm not going to put a time stamp on this, like as in, oh, it's got to be for this amount of time, because the reality is we all know that this will dissipate over time. We will get therapies and a vaccination, but it's going to take years, literally years, to get back to the economy to, because there's just so much that's going to have to be put into it. So I thought rather than look at the outcome of like 6 months, let's look at the outcome as in the future and future generations. So I'm going to start with Canada, and I'm going to look at Canada for health. We have the Hangman. So this is a focus on life, on medicine, on people, and on a value. We have the perspective. We're all more or less having the same perspective. There's always going to be people who disagree, but I think the majority of people, the majority of people have the same perspective of the value of life and moving forward, and we're willing to suspend life as we know it for the betterment of all. For money, we have the Nine of Wands. So we are going to defend. We are going to keep going in the face of the struggles, because believe me, we're going to have struggles physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, the whole 9 yards. But we are going to keep going, keep defending, and we have the knowledge and know-how to get there. As our outcome, we have the Nine of Cups. So it's a very good card. It's like life. There's ups and downs and ups again. So if you keep your perspective, if we keep our perspective and be there and defend each and every one of us, if we keep on this trajectory, we will be successful. So that's Canada. Now let's look into China. Let's see what's for China's health, wealth, and outcome. Health, wealth, and outcome. 1, 2, 3. We have the Hermit. So, look, we know that China has not told us the truth. They definitely tried to keep this secret for a long time before they let the World Health Organization. And that's somebody else we need to look into, because I think they could be doing a little bit more if they really truly believe this is a pandemic. They should be really putting their thumb down hard on all countries. But this is China, and we're only seeing a portion of what is true. There's a lot more to come out. I am also worried that because there's only a small light being shined on their health, that this is going to be, we're not going to know the true numbers. We're not going to know the true amount of deaths. And this is worrisome, because this is almost like not everything has been seen. So there might be more disease or another resurgence. God forbid that we have a resurgence of the same virus, but a stronger strand of it. I'm worried about China. Health-wise, worried about China. Money-wise, we're looking at the Six of Swords. So they're trying to separate their emotions of what's happening with money. I think they're a huge player in the world economy. We look to China for a lot of things. And I think they're seeing there's a lot of negative swords, negative thoughts coming from a lot of places, looking at China and saying, hey, we're not sure about doing business with you. In the same way, I think that It's not going to happen immediately, but I think over time, we're going to start backing away from giving any one country too much of the pie. Outcome is the Six of Cups. So, you know, the Chinese government is doing this, not the Chinese people. They're just regular people trying to make ends meet, do what's best for their family. And I believe there's a lot of people in China that would love to go back to a time of putting people first, putting effort and thought into traditions and self-respect. And I believe that, although times are tough right now for China, they are, as well as the world, moving away. And hopefully over time, it's going to take a long time, that they'll come back to a better place. They're going to come back to a time of renewal. It's just going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. So I am worried about their health. I am worried about more disease coming out from there or starting a second outbreak. So let's look at the USA. Let's look at the USA. How is the US health, wealth, and outcome going to be? Praying for each and every one of us. Praying for each and every one of us. Let's have a look. USA. Okay. Five of Pentacles. So Five of Pentacles for health. There is going to be a bit of loss here. I think that there's confusion, misinformation, and there's going to be an overwhelming of the hospital system. I think because of the inaction of Donald Trump, people are going to suffer, and it won't be just economically, and it's going to ill affect those who aren't in a good position even now before the pandemic started. So it's going to hurt a lot of people. And it's just, this is my rich poor card. And this is really going to show a really strong definition between those who have and those who have not in the US. For their wealth, Seven of Swords. So, this is Donald Trump making sure that Donald Trump gets what he wants, and he will leave whatever else left on the floor for Dee to think about and pick up later, because he is not going to take responsibility for anything to do with this pandemic. So there's going to be, unfortunately, people are going to take advantage of this situation. The rich are going to try to get away with making as much as they can, and almost in an oblivious way, because they have Trump leading the way, leading people to follow him when they shouldn't, because they just trust in him like a blind faith, not realizing he is robbing you blind. The outcome, Magician. So the reality is the U.S. has everything that it needs to be successful. They have all the tools to manifest an amazing, brilliant, fantastic future for them. It is going to come down to the will of the people. It is going to come down to the people rising up and putting their wishes for what they want into the future of the United States. Donald Trump and the money loss, this can be overcome. You have the tools, you have all the right ingredients to make a beautiful cake, but you need to have push. You need to ensure that each life is of value. Don't let money be the reason for the loss of life, regardless of what Trump does. you have the ability to manifest something beautiful, and you will. It's just going to take some time. Oy. So, US, let's look at Australia. Let's have a look at Australia. Now, you may be wondering, how did I choose? I kind of looked into who is my audience that tend to look at me, so I try to hit all the countries that are in my audience because I can't hit everybody. So let's look at Australia. Past, present, and future. Okay. So we have the Ace of Swords. So Australia might actually be somewhere where you will hear of therapies or tests or things. They're going to be, it's almost like they're already behind the eight ball, but they've had this stroke of like, okay, now we've got to get going and take this seriously. So I think that there's going to be some good news about medical advancements and help on their way, but it's not being proactive. So there is going, like, look, none of us, look, we've all lost one life to this pandemic, regardless of which country we're from. So we've already lost. Wealth-wise, you have the Six of Pentacles. So Australia, it almost feels like you're going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that your financial issues are not going to get resolved quickly. It's going to take a little longer. It's going to be a little bit more back and forth. This is financially, I think the country is going to have a little bit of a rough time of it, because this is not having enough money coming in and having too much going out. The end result will be the Seven of Pentacles. So there's going to have to be, at a later date, they're going to have to really look at what does Australia have, what are the bases for our economy, what things can we add to it. They're going to have to refocus, relook, and come from a new perspective to find value, because unfortunately I see, and this is not me, this is the cards, they're going to have some financial issues going on for a while. Sorry. Okay, so let's look at United Kingdom. Let's look at the United Kingdom. Sorry, my cards are messed up. United Kingdom for health, wealth, and outcome. United Kingdom for health, wealth, and outcome. Hi. United Kingdom. It's almost like coming a little late. Health is going to be hurt by other people not taking it seriously. There's going to be a hit, a strong hit. And unfortunately, there's going to be some negative falsification of numbers, falsification of tests, maybe destroying of tests. There's going to be something that's not going to be right in the numbers of the health of the tests. Something negative about the health, because this is for health. For money, we've got the moon. So we're not seeing everything. It's going to take some time. It's going to need some help. Looking to have to look outside the box to find a way to improve the financial prosperity. This is shady dealings, and with this card, I'm not feeling good about the UK and your government. And then as the outcome card, I have the Eight of Cups. So this is the walking away. It's almost like the UK will be like, oh my God, we've got a government who's not doing, we have a financial that's not doing. So it's almost like they're giving it up and giving it to God and saying, oh dear God, please don't forsake us, help us. They will eventually find a path, but their path is not as clear as everybody else's. The UK, from the looks of it, is going to be going through some growing pains and some changes over the next little while. That's going to be beyond just the pandemic, because there's something, there's some sneaky behind the scenes things that aren't being seen at this point. That's for the UK. So my next is the Middle East. So that would be Egypt, Iran, Iraq, UAE, the Middle East. Because I mean, there's just so many countries. But let's see. We're going to look at the health, money, and the outcome for the Middle East. Okay, so we have the Queen of Cups. So it's almost like those who have will have, and those who won't have won't have. It's almost as though it's like a status quo type of deal, that what you're hearing about the good or the good numbers or the not so bad numbers, it's complete confusion. They don't know. They're offering information that they have no idea about. So for the Middle East, it's almost like some places will be hit hard and you might not even realize how hard. The places that have money, they'll take care of it, but the places that don't, they might be left to their own devices. For money, there is going to be a re-looking at the money, looking at what do they have, what can they count on, and what can they learn from now to move forward, because the outcome is the Six of Pentacles, which again is robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's a give and take. It's almost as though this epidemic is sort of like, yeah, we're always dealing with some sort of, that this is not affecting them in the wow way that it's affecting us. In the sense that it's not fully being, the information's not fully being out there. People aren't seeing what's going on behind closed doors. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion here. And going forward, there's gonna it's like one side or the other doesn't win out. It's sort of, they're just gonna keep going on this steady flow, but there's not a huge change for one way or the other. So Africa, for Africa. Let's look into Africa for health, wealth, and the outcome for Africa. Health, they got the Strength card. So, I mean, this could be taken two ways. It could be, again, strength to the people, strength to their immunity, strength to get through this, but that does not, is not indicative of the loss. And there's a strength in, you know, if two people lost their job and one is somebody who's used to making $50,000 a year and one's used to making $10,000 a year, the person who makes $10,000 will know how to navigate a little easier, because they've never had too much. And they almost seem like this, like that's their strength, that they are at their basics. They don't have the Western thought of materialistic things. So in the money, it's almost like most people don't even know what the money situation is there. It's like it's secretive. There's so many countries where it's like they don't want you to really know what's what. There's no transparency. So they will need the strength of God to get through the health. But they're being kept in the dark about finances, about the real nitty gritty of what is available, if there is any. It's almost like those who have, and those who don't. And you're not going to find out. They're keeping everything very secretive. The end result is the Seven of Wands. So they're just going to have to keep defending themselves. I almost fear that this virus, unfortunately, will take a little longer to kind of make its way through the African countries. I think that there's it'll take a lot longer to defend it over in Africa. It'll take longer for the therapies and for vaccinations to get there to defend. And it's almost like there's a governmental, again, another government that are keeping people in the dark when it comes to finances and health. I hope I'm not making anybody feel bad, because I was asked to look at it all around the world, kind of have a look and see how we're all going to fare. And look, we're all going to get through there no matter what. If we don't go there willingly, the powers to be will just drag us there. But let's have a look. I'm going to take out my angels and, hold on, I'm going to show you. It's my Saints and Angels Oracle. Let's have a look and see what message can we take from it for ourselves. What can we do as an individual, regardless of where we're from? What can we do? What can we take away from today's reading? What can we take away from today's reading? Because I want to give people hope, because there's always, always hope. So watch today's reading. Wise decisions. This is on a personal level, guys. This is wise decisions that we make, that we turn to whoever it is that you worship, be it God, the universe, fill in the blank, wherever you find your comfort, that voice, that knowing that we all have, regardless of where it comes from. This is saying, be wise in your own decisions. Listen to your gut. Turn to your source and find peace in that. Because no matter what, our spirits will be okay. Whether we stay home here or we find another home there, we will all get through this. But we need to make sure we're making wise decisions, not just as countries, but as a people, as a humankind. Let's show love and consideration and value to everybody. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Wishing you light for your darkness and so much peace for your sleep tonight. Have a good evening.